Yeah, this is Chris. This is not the video I was expecting to make as my return video. And allow me to open up by saying that I am not a fan of K-pop, like, at all. But this movie has been literally all over my Instagram reels, so I figure I'd give this movie a chance. So I figured what a way to return to video making than with a nice niche movie about something I am not a fan of and cannot possibly begin to understand at face value. KPop Demon Hunters is a Netflix original animated movie that made its way into the internet and developed quite a rabid fan base extremely quickly. And allow me to start by saying that this movie is actually kind of good. I like it, but I'll be honest, the name does not help nor does it justice in any way, shape, or form. Yes, the movie it's about K-pop stars who hunt demons, but I don't know, man. The name alone gave me the ick about it for the first few weeks while I was looking at it on my recommended list. This movie follows the group Huntrix. Each member has a set personality archetype, and they do kind of feel like real friends. However, the movie does try and tell me that this is a deep, long lasting friendship, but it's actually quite superficial in how the movie shows it. This is just a small little nitpick, since out of the three girls, only one of them is our main character. The animation is quite good, albeit a little bit exaggerated. However, it is animation nonetheless, so it's not like goofy character models from time to time are a deal breaker for me. On top of that, the movie tackles a quite serious topic, so the over the top animation helps bring moments of levity at times. The movie also does quite a decent job setting up the lore and the reasons as to why this world functions the way it does. You see, demons invaded the world many years ago and stole the souls of people. Okay, so three idol guardians emerged to fight them off, and through song and dance, they channeled the hopes of the people, which helped create the Honmun, which is a mantle that keeps demons away or something like that. And once the Honmun goes golden, the demons will be kept away forever? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right. I will say that even though K-pop is not my cup of tea, the theme of music uniting people and strengthening the barrier through the fans, hopes, beliefs, and interests is actually quite solid. It really holds the audience's attention and it's easy enough to explain for, viewers. Then we are presented to our big bad guy who is a faceless fire demon king called Ma. Now, I do need to say that he's supposed to be intimidating, but he kinda sounds like a regular dude. Like, I'm having a hard time believing that this is the big bad guy when he just sounds like Joe from 2 blocks away, you know what I mean?
What makes you think that could work?
Our other antagonist is the sexy demon guy and his group of what could only be described as quite literal ghouls. They end up turning into our main antagonist, a sexy demon boy band. So the big bad guy plans to take over the world using sexy men. And it's so stupid of an idea that honestly, it kind of makes total sense within the confines of how the Honmun works, and I actually believe that what would ruin the world in this situation is a sexy boy band through K-pop. So yeah, you got me there. Okay, that makes sense. I like that. Oh, and by the way, our main protagonist, Rumi, she's part demon. We're told that her hesitation, shame, and insecurities seem to be endangering the fabric of the protection that the Honmun provides, since it works through the persona that the Guardians show to people, so people's beliefs in these characters. So here's a small problem I got with the movie. You see, when we first see the sexy boy band, the movie doesn't really intend to hide the fact that they are demons to the public. Like, I would have liked that dramatic irony, and it does create a good juxtaposition between the movie reality, the fan perceptions, and our main characters. That's fine. But then the boy band teleports, and the people don't really care. And okay, yes, that makes sense. They don't really hide the fact that they're demons. Okay, that's fair. However, the public doesn't know that there's supernatural shit going on. So I'm actually kind of annoyed at the fact that people act like these are just special effects, even though they're not supposed to, because these guys just disappeared. And earlier in the movie, the band jumped from a plane and they tried to cover that up, but they literally kill a guy. So, I don't know, like, this honestly breaks my immersion. It would be way easier if the people knew that K-pop stars have superpowers. Because pretending to pass them as regular people does not work for me. That is my one big caveat with this movie. It is super weird and it threw me off because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, do the people know, do the people not know? But anyways, let's move on. Here we are introduced to the main struggle of this movie, which is that, well, Rumi is a half demon. And that means that her demon tattoos start manifesting. And these girls have been quite literally groomed into this idea that all demons are evil and the Hunmoon must be protected at all costs. And at first, it really comes across as your typical story of good versus evil, which is very cliche. And I was actually started to not enjoy the movie at all because it felt quite generic. However, this movie has layers, and it ended up being a lot more subtle than I was expecting it to be. The movie heavily hints at the busy lives and exhausting expectations that the public puts upon K-pop stars. Not only by the standards of their fans or the industry, but also themselves. The movie comments about how a lot of stars simply do not allow themselves to get some rest or even a break. For example, one of the themes the movie tackles is the fear of failure and overbearing sense of responsibility that, in this particular case, the idols themselves feel in relation to something they could potentially owe to their fans. A lot of young stars grow up to actually feel responsible for some of people's happiness. And as an outsider to that culture and that fan base, it sounds kind of egotistical. But again, a lot of them are groomed into these beliefs and lifestyle. They're actually told that their responsibility is to make people smile. That is crazy to me. Honestly, it is a profound theme that I wasn't really expecting to come from a silly Netflix animated K-pop movie about demon hunters. So this means that tears start appearing all over the Hunmoon. And in a similar fashion as a parallel, tears also start showing in the relationship of Huntrix. As a quick side note, I honestly love the fact that they are actually showing the consequences of these insecurities in the world, which, you know, includes a lot of people dying. Yeah, you heard me right. The movie doesn't show people dying, but the souls are shown to be eaten and people disappearing. So when they defeat Guima, I would have expected for the souls to come back and the people appear again, but no. They don't show anything going back to normal. They don't show people returning. No, these people are just dead. Anyways, let's go back to the movie. So we see that Rumi's voice begins to weaken, which she thinks, and we are told as an audience, that is due to her demon heritage. However, this is due to her own insecurities, it seems. They don't really explain why the voice thing happens, or why she even thinks that it's because of her tattoos, or they don't even tell us the reason why it gets fixed. I mean, originally, I thought that demons simply couldn't sing at all. But then they showed me the sexy boy band, so I don't know. With this one, I'm actually kind of lost. Like, I didn't get that. Oh, wait, there's no time to ask for things because it's time for the second act low point, so we gotta keep going. We discover that Genu, the sexy demon guy from earlier in the movie, actually betrayed his own family, didn't tell Rumi the whole truth, and then proceeded to betray her, which, just bad guy stuff. Then we have a scene where there is a heart-to-heart between friends, where they all admit their flaws and mend their relationship. And here, I was sort of hoping would be when Rumi actually shows her friends that she's half demon and they would accept her anyways, no matter what, because they love each other, blah, 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 blah. But instead, they just don't. And the movie just ignore it. And we move on as if nothing was wrong to begin with. I'm sorry, but if the movie wants me to be on Rumi's side about this, I was expecting her to be fully honest with her only friends, rather than being honest with, you know, the random sexy demon guy who wants to seemingly destroy the world. But no, he's hot, so why trust your friends, right? Anyways, sexy demon guy betrays Rumi, as I already said, sets up a trap, they ambush her, expose her secret to the world, and basically destroys Huntrix. Okay. The movie shows me that the online discourse becomes that Huntrix sucks and the demon boy band is awesome. They show this by turning the public into zombies, making them do a walk towards our doom scene, and honestly I cannot even be mad. It's a classic scene, and it's a trope, and it means that Rumi is the only person who's out of this whole thing, so yeah, it makes sense. As a side note, and as an outsider to the K-pop fandom, I don't really know how to feel about the way that they're portraying the K-pop fanbase though. Not gonna lie, it makes K-pop fans seem really fickle, and it makes me believe that the fans will give up on their idols at the smallest inconvenience. My only thought was, wow, K-pop fans suck. Which, yes, I get it, it's a social commentary to a certain degree, but I still found it interesting that the movie itself portrayed the fans in such a light. Now, we then see Rumi go to her mom asking her to kill her? Wow, that's actually pretty raw, honestly. And then we learn that this bitch actively hid who Rumi was and did not accept her. Her own adoptive mother forced her to hide herself and become someone who she never even was? Holy shit! This is heavy! And that's when it clicked for me. Because Rumi is told constantly throughout the movie, our faults and fears must never be seen. That's how we protect the Honmun. And that was my holy shit moment. The Honmun represents the K-pop star lifestyle. It is the eyes of the fans. You know, these kids, these teenagers, these young adults, they can never show a fault. They have to be perfect. They have to be handsome. They have to be pretty. They have to be attractive. They have to be desirable. They have to be everything but real. They have to be products. The Honmun is the lifestyle that a lot of idols are expected to live by, because it is such a massive market that if you get shunned from it, you will be quickly replaced. Just like we saw in that earlier scene of the public rejecting Huntrix. And Rumi actively rebels against this, which, of course, yes, I agree with. The Honmun is nothing but a fake blanket of artificial thoughts and lies. I would have been okay with the movie ending right here, but we still got 20 minutes, so let's keep going. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what the Saja boys represent with their final song in the third act is the other toxic side of K-pop and their fandom. You know, the one related to people who make idols their literal life. They create a parasocial relationship between idol and fan, and they become, being the idols, become the emotional support, and people feel free to invade every aspect of these stars' lives. And it also, I feel like it represents the toxic way in which a lot of young artists are trained to act and manipulate their audiences to sell more merch, to sell more music, to sell more tickets. Rumi sets out to create a new Hanmun that's, more real and more reliable along with Huntrix, and they perform a last song, in which they defeat the bad guy. This last song, I think, represents a new modern age that says, yo, idols are humans too, so shut the fuck up and stop it. And I think there's something beautiful in such a simple message. The one thing I do not like, though, is that we are told everything in such a matter of fact throughout the whole movie. And yes, it's a stupid K-pop movie for teenagers. But I don't know, I personally wanted to be more invested in the friendship and relationships towards one another between the members of the main group. I don't know, maybe show me a flashback or a montage of their times together, or have them be broken up for a little bit longer. It was like 5 minutes. The transition between Act 2 and 3 actually feels quite rushed. However, I do like the character despite my nitpicks. The animations and the themes the movie tries to tackle are really good. I personally do not like K-pop, but watching this movie as if it was a musical helped a lot. And I feel like it will help you if you're not a fan of the genre. It's honestly not a bad movie, and I understand why people like it so much. And even if you're not a K-pop fan and watch this movie, there are still plenty of things that you can actively enjoy. I'm not saying that this movie's perfect. This movie was surprising in the best of ways. I recommend going into it with an open mind and enjoy some surprisingly deep commentary on the K-pop industry. KPop Demon Hunters ends up being a solid 6.5 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10. I don't know, somewhere in the middle. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I got a little more time now that university is fully finished, so hopefully I'll be able to bring you some more videos. And in the meantime, feel free to click some of the stuff that's on the screen or in the recommended feed. And remember, leave a comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.